Part 2, The Way Forward, Camino and About, Storytelling for Greatest Thinkers. Chapter 5. Camino, February 2019. During the time I took clients on a course, I sent many on the Camino Frances. It was my own dream to get there one day, where I could unplug and get away for as many weeks as it takes to walk an entire Camino. I got the opportunity in 2019, and it's a journey I shall never forget. You'll never forget your first Camino. My whole life made sense on a completely different level and was gathered into what I do today, which is yet another of my reasons for my happiness in life, namely Ancient Academy and everything we do here. Among other things, the Camino is an integral part of our business concept today and the dream in the future. We work towards a place for the development of people and various business modules, publishing books, and the magical surroundings on the way. A place where everyone learns and finds their higher meaning and, in silence, can listen to the language of their consciousness and find their personal signature. A place for diversity and a place where the divergent can meet and create via experiences and knowledge at Ancient Academy. A place where the transformation of consciousness, integration and changes take their quiet place. A place where innovation and transformation of the whole person, body, mind, spirit, in collaboration with nature's power originate from. A place where the business world and the whole person find a compromise on a balanced and sustainable approach to lead, to create or be part of this. An international physical platform like the one already created, an online knowledge portal where combined intelligence, combined consciousness, female-male management with our dynamic intuition and organic instincts can be developed in collaboration, where all the different processes are settled, transformed from knowledge into experience, and taken on as inner wisdom, namely the school of life, the house of Ancient Academy located right on the way of life, the Camino, where all different types of people walk towards a purpose and create space for all this on an international platform. Today, we have rounded about 7,000 kilometers and many different Caminos, alone, together with each child and with friends. About the Camino. I have walked in Denmark, Iceland, Greenland, Tehran, Egypt, through the heights of the volcano Etna while it was erupting, the rainforest of the Dominican Republic, and Joshua Tree Park in USA. I've had wild experiences in Jakarta, Tobago, Bali, Dubai, or the exotic world of the Cape Verde Islands. The journey has also passed through most of Europe's different countries. However, hiking the Camino just has a special spirit and power. We all choose a way, our consciously chosen way in life, where we transform, integrate, and root everyday challenges, learnings, successes, or happiness. For our family, it has become the Camino, where we also experience, have fun, and cultivate us. Sometimes we walk the way right here and now. Other times we choose the way we want to go. Many people just walk the way that has been laid before them by family, social inheritance, by the world of chance, coincidence ability, or simply because everyone around them walks the way that makes sense for the collective way, collective consciousness. I have chosen my ways through life unconsciously and caused by the collective influence many times. There, I learned a lot about defining myself, it and them, hence wholenesses and possibilities. I am only walking the way I have consciously chosen for me today. Divergence ability. I have also walked and continue to walk other people's common ways, such as at work, the family way, the cultural way, or through the common way of marriage. But I still know what my way is. I still use thoughts, energy, and focus on the ways that are ahead of me, the ways I am leaving behind, or the ways I am walking right now and here. Choose on and choose off. I also focus a lot on how I can maintain the desired direction on the way. Sustained consciousness ability. How can we combine and integrate the Camino, the way, into the business world quite symbolically and thoroughly physically, and as stories? How do we combine the different ways in our lives? Whether it's the family's way, the collective's way, the professional way, or the personal way. Through combined intelligence, combined consciousness, via meta-duality theory, combined consciousness ability. How do we find the passion that is our inner power, which is empowered through the ways we are on or that are ahead of us as opportunities, our innovation ability? How do we choose the changes we need, sort out those that we are done with, or those that do not benefit us anymore, or which we are just not ready to take yet? How do we seek the changes we are missing? The inspirational stories here are built up as a blog from the Camino. Among other things, they are about my theory with its two-part law and the hypotheses it is built on and implemented into in the course of life, and connect our ordinary everyday life into an exciting storytelling from real life. This creates, expands, and transforms our understanding ability and our combined intelligence in our private and business life, and in a thoughtful and interesting way. I turn attention to the school of life with all our experiences, our acquired knowledge and diplomas with our present circumstances, which contain all the answers we seek, are missing and needing. Wholeness ability. How can we seek learning to be capable of understanding what we are not yet able to understand? How do all our forms of intelligence evolve and transform? And how do we integrate them with each other so that we can expand our understanding ability and thus develop ourselves in a wholeness with our combined intelligence to achieve greater consciousness through our combined consciousness or integration ability? How can we create a greater capacity within us, in our families and in our relationships? How do we create greater capacity in our business sector? How to integrate the different ways in our lives so that we can better live a life in a wholeness, in capacity ability? How can we become more aware of all the abilities we contain, just as those in our blind spot, the unconscious? How do we activate those we have not seen yet? And how do we develop and transform the abilities that benefit us, the personal, the professional, and those in our family relationships? Capacity ability. What is your why in life? How can we learn to understand the world of emotions more concretely? And how can we understand the concrete world more colorfully? After all, they're just two sides of the same coin, just very different. Just like us humans, we have both in us. Depending on who we are, where or what kind of way we come from, or how we are trained to use ourselves from different angles. Emotional and operational management, female and male management. I tell and inspire you to find your way to what you are looking for, what you miss or just want to develop further, by continuously telling about my story, my individual signature, our common signature, why I have chosen to build Ancient Academy and Advisory, and what the vision, passion, and driving force behind it is. Why? I tell you how I have worked with things myself, what I preach about and have spent many years of my private and business life on. Absolutely fantastic stories, close to the most private thoughts and processes of life, which we all will many times stand in and be facing, but which many do not dare to talk about out loud, and which affect us, our work, and the wholeness to a greater extent. I focus on choosing one way off to choosing another way on. The story behind all the many Caminos crisscrossing Spain and Portugal, where they all end up in one place, and only one place, if we choose to go all the way out, namely to Santiago de Compostela. My personal Camino as a solo hiker, our Camino as a couple, our Camino as mother and daughter, and our Camino as a whole family of 6. Based on real and exciting stories, we draw parallels, presenting and turning everything upside down in a thought-provoking way. Whether you are a leader, politician, board member, employee, or someone who searches, then jump on and read more here. This part of the book are some thoughts I had during and right after I came back from my first Camino in 2019. April 2019, my first Camino. Nati 2.0 version. Back to Denmark after 7 weeks at the Camino. I've long promised this update, which has been very difficult for me to write, since everyday life hits you so hard here in the office, making it difficult to stay fully in touch with one's inner self. One step at a time in gratitude, in the now and beyond, it became all the way in the approximately 900 kilometers. The uncertainty of what it was I had gotten myself into came up a few times. What was this? How should I start the trip? Why was I there? And why at this time? I had wanted to walk on the Camino for a long time, and all of a sudden I was standing there. Shortly after I said goodbye to Denmark and the family, things calmed down, and it was all so right. I could feel, think, and be able to separate myself from the whole world around me as an independent individual, independent of the opinions of others, their attitudes and expectations. It was probably the thought of walking many kilometers alone, maybe the Camino spirit, or just devoting oneself 100%. Maybe it was the combination of it all. But for the first time, I could feel without a filter. A feeling of joy and gratitude, with a clarity that can only be experienced and not described, hit me from the time I sat in the plane, and lasted the subsequent 7 weeks it took to walk to Santiago. I have spent so many years reading, philosophizing, twisting and turning everything to understand and create understanding, that in the end I didn't know what to do with all that knowledge. Despite all the notes and drafts that have been ready to be formed into several books, something has stopped me. It's one thing to acquire knowledge. Another thing is when knowledge is transformed into a form of inner wisdom. And finally, the art is to be using it both consciously and unconsciously, right at the given time. Not everyone is ready for new knowledge, and not everyone understands how we can transform our knowledge into our very personal inner wisdom, which is a consciousness expanding process. You see, this comes from experiences that arise from our experiences of our failures and successes, and thus how they are reformatted into our abilities which expand our personal capacity. After all, it's basically our potentials that we are talking about here. Potentials that define our personality, who we are, what we can do, and our personal why. Our personal why is the definition of why we strive for what we want and wish in life. How we can realize our why is the process from which we transform knowledge into inner wisdom. We liberate ourselves more and more from ourselves and thus the outside world, because every time we transform knowledge into wisdom, we grow personally. This brings us closer and closer to being the sustainable human being, the best version of ourselves with our original signature. I felt like a woman who had everything, from the first step I took in France, as the Camino Frances starts there. It was the biggest and wildest realization and aha experience for me to date. I saw clearly and felt unconditional happiness for the following 7 weeks. I was the woman who had everything because I was allowed to learn, acquire knowledge, and strive to transform knowledge into wisdom, and hopefully become a better and better person with each passing day. I was the woman who had everything because I am allowed to be in motion all the time as my conscious choice. I was given the opportunity to actively do what I loved, and which expanded my potentials and highlighted them, so that I could learn to use them. I was the woman who had everything, because I am surrounded by unconditional support, respect, and love from my children, husband, and friends to be me. Unconditional support, even if not everyone could always follow along or understand. Money, status, and job titles come and go. Material goods can burn or be taken from us, or we can lose everything because of the conditions and circumstances of life. Partners and families come and go, and none of these are sustained. But one thing that no one can take away from us is our knowledge and inner wisdom, which can always help us get back up after a fall in life. The definition of happiness and success for me is when things are moving in peace and come into being in reality. It may be an idea, it may be a person, a dream, or simply a wish. As long as there is both brain and heart present, when something succeeds, then there is happiness. The Camino for me became the way to a realization of happiness and personal success. Understanding, ethics, and morality about our values determine what we perceive as success and happiness. I realized that happiness for me was as long as I could keep moving and succeed in learning and understanding even more. Happiness for me was the moment I had the aha experiences that have expanded my consciousness and transformed knowledge into wisdom within me. And the most important thing was that I had finally reached the point in my life where I have the opportunity to do so with full support and unconditional love from my loved ones. Because only when I feel whole will I be the best version of me, the good mother, friend, or spouse. It is only then I use myself completely right. We cannot love others unconditionally if we do not love ourselves unconditionally. We cannot give others the freedom to be who they are if we do not know who we are and set ourselves free. We shouldn't judge others if we do not want to be judged ourselves. We cannot succeed with and in a wholeness if we cannot allow others to succeed unconditionally. It is all about unconditional love, understanding, and our potentials, our why in life, which is our life learning. I am still looking for a place to land after I return to Denmark. Or rather, I am in the process of transforming the knowledge that I gathered, inner wisdom from the experiences I have with me, so that I can learn to use them in my everyday life. My new glasses to look at the world with. To me, the Camino was a personal system optimization. Halfway on the Camino Frances, March 2019. We all do it several times during a lifetime. Some days there is sun and other days are windy with rain. The same process is repeated every day here, as at home. How we act and react creates our circumstances both here and at home. The only difference between the Camino here and life at home is that our surroundings and the people we are surrounded by are changing. Our habits are taken from us. It doesn't take more before we can see more clearly or feel ourselves in quite another way. It's because we are away from the constant outside influence and can finally see and feel in a completely different way. And right there, we can catch up with our inner power and life energy. We feel ourselves conditionally when we are at home. Here, there are not many conditions, only the ones I set for myself. So, what I have got in my backpack so far from here is my life energy and inner power. I started by walking in gratitude, happiness, and my mantra was, I take it with ease in the present. I'll continue on the same track for the next few days. However, over the many kilometers, I have found my inner power and life energy more and more, which I had lost in recent years, among other things due to a way too busy life. And I have found an even newer life energy, inner power and knowledge that I have not had before. The manual for happiness has also been much more clarified. So all in all, there are a lot of exciting things to write about when I come back. In short, we must love, respect, and accept ourselves exactly as we are, before we can love others unconditionally, respect others unconditionally, and accept others' differences unconditionally. Another thing that is not the same as at home is time. I've lost my sense of time completely. It's fantastic. The last couple of times Rasmus has been here, we have talked much about which painting we would like to paint in our future together. Our lives from here, dreams, goals. I look forward to his return so we can finish painting our joint future painting. I've achieved the things I painted with the children in 2011. It's so crazy to see that thoughts come true. The only thing I want from my life from here is to be able to make a difference for others while I live and am passionate in the present tense and want to leave something after me which, regardless of my existence, helps others to find the happiness they desire, both privately and professionally. It's quite sad to see how many of us live in discontent and fight a brave battle to be something or want something other than what they have. It can be the optimal title, job, or love, but everyone forgets that the present tense creates the future. We create our own life. I want to enjoy the tranquility in my red wine now and to send some good thoughts to my very sore feet. 4 days before departure to Camino Frances, February 2019. Should we walk the Camino next week? Was said in each other's mouths when Rasmus and I drove back from skiing last week. For the next 5 or 6 weeks, my body, soul and mind will be walking 800,000 kilometers through the Camino's routes. Yesterday I spent on making good friends with the ways, the forest, and the wild mountain climbs. This is never far from words to action with me. It feels right and makes sense. So 3 days after my arrival from the ski trip, I was equipped with everything a pilgrim needs, and here I am. Rasmus and I had a fantastic chat with a wise woman, a psychotherapist, the day before I left. She asked us what our challenge or problem in our life was. Good question that set a lot of motion in our thoughts. We replied in each other's mouths. We have everything our hearts desire. Love on all fronts, job-wise, and the loveliest children. The challenges that exist are not ours among ourselves, but from the people around us, or something that emanates from the environment that doesn't understand us and is somewhere else in life. Just imagine getting this far. And then she said, then you also have a lot to lose, and you must cherish that. I will walk every mile with gratitude in my heart, pride in being able to achieve everything I have set out to do, be happy with the valuable life I have attracted, and will remind myself to cherish it. I shall walk and walk the next few weeks and find out how I finally got here and how I can use the great resource right, how I can handle happiness and cherish it. You see, happiness is what we are all looking for, aiming for, and doing everything possible to find. No one has taught me how to treat happiness. Funnily enough, there aren't many books on how to live in happiness when you have finally achieved it. I shall also write during the trip and live life to the fullest. Meanwhile, I miss the children and Rasmus incredibly much. So much that it hurts. Life is exciting, especially when you are me.